Welcome to part 2 of my solo travel to Japan. Today we're starting off with a little bit of a mishap. A long train ride and a bike ride, plus a bus ride, all in the same morning. If you missed part 1, I'm putting it up here on the side and on the description below if you want to catch up. And let's pick up where we left off. We're now in the next day, where I took a pretty much an unplanned train route from Onomichi to Imabari while transferring at Okayama through Shinkansen. Then I transferred to a local train all the way to Imabari. So I'm doing a version of Shimanami Kaido where I'm kind of starting from the end, which is usually the last point of the cycling route, because usually people start in Onomichi and end up in Imabari. So the route that I'm doing is Imabari is my starting point, and then I'll end up in Onomichi. Once I got there at Imabari station, I picked up the bike, and that was pretty much the start of the red flags ignored, like my windbreaker jacket included. The bike doesn't fit. I couldn't be bothered to make a fit adjustments on my seat. I mean, I had thousands of bikes to choose from, but I settled for this one because I was in a haste. Even the helmet doesn't fit right. But again, you only live once, and I easily got distracted, especially by the Shiba Inu and his friendly owner along the way, but that's just one of many distractions. Everything was so good so far until I went uphill and kind of panicked when I noticed another cyclist behind me when this narrow path is approaching. I felt the need to speed up, and pretty much after turning my head back to the road, I fell off the bike and the phone camera was rolling to capture it all. It was clipped onto my backpack strap and it fell on the floor, but I probably fell harder. I still went on defeated, but my hands were bleeding quite a lot and exposure to wind wasn't helping. My gloves are ripped and so are my jeans. Again, I'm aware I made a lot of mistakes in this particular bike trip. I did not plan well, I did not train beforehand, and I squeezed this segment in an already packed itinerary. I mean, without this, I could have enjoyed this trip more, filmed more, and would have probably eaten and gotten more stamps. Glad that the next bike rental drop-off station was not too far. At the booth, the lady was nice to give me first aid after washing my blood off and was extra kind to give me super specific instructions on how to get on the nearest bus stop. I then rode back to Onomichi through a bus, and I believe this is not covered by the Japan Rail Pass. I then reached back Onomichi and mended my wounds, but also walked around and comforted myself with Onomichi ramen, which was quite unforgettable. I then walked around the area some more, and despite the fall, I fell in love with Onomichi, not deterred at all, planning my next Southern Island cycle. The next day I woke up and dropped off my luggage, so I just have my shopper bag with me when I travel to Kyoto. I checked out of my hotel and had a lovely coffee and sandwich at Yard Cafe. Really amazed at the interior lighting here, soaking in the beauty of the area. I then headed back to Onomichi Station, changed at Shin Onomichi, and reserved a seat at Shinkansen Hikari towards Kyoto. It was a welcomed change of pace. I enjoyed the drastic difference in landscapes as I bullet trained my way from prefecture to prefecture. I can't believe I get to see Japan this way, and obviously it impacted me so much that I only traveled to Japan for the next few years after this trip. Once I arrived in Kyoto, it was almost sunset, and I was surprised to have a room that has originally a capacity of 2, all to myself. I settled in after receiving my luggage at the counter, and I admired the view of Toji Temple right outside my window. I then took the subway to main Kyoto station to find dinner, had a lovely shabu to end the day, and start my Kyoto leg of the trip. Good night. The next morning, I began the day with a lovely peek of the autumn foliage around Toji Temple. Of course, it was on my list of to visit, but first, I went to find another temple to get a goshuin, so I headed to Arashiyama to see the infamous bamboo forest. When I got there, the open space that the valley and the river set was very refreshing. I caught myself observing every demographic within the area who were there visiting, local or tourists, the quaint local shops around it, and why it's no surprise that it's one of the top sites to visit in Kyoto. The boat ride is probably not for me, at least on this solo expedition, but I'd like to try something like that with my family maybe. My walk led me to the Dahikaku Senkoji Temple, which is halfway up the mountain nearby. I was drawn to the sidewalk along the riverbank with the mix of momiji and bamboo trees and closed path. Without googling or researching for where to go next, I just ended up here at the temple and was quickly admiring every detail about it. The viewing platform, the pieces of scrolls that lay on the table. I believe they offer tea as well. And yeah, that's a good view facing Kyoto city right on the veranda or through their glass windows. I was just delighted that I forgot about the question on whether the temple had goshuin or not, so I didn't really get to find out if there's a booth for it, much less get a stamp. So I left this place full of bliss, the ignorant kind, but happy nonetheless. I then decided to head back towards my accommodation to find dinner and visit Gion area. All the shops with this beautiful light seeping through from the inside were very enticing and intriguing. I was very happy to walk past the geishas at this time and managed to photograph the area around the vicinity that is now prohibited to photograph and enter. After a night stroll, I passed by this yakitori place and wanted to eat there for dinner. However, I was not able to get one right on the spot because they only do reservations specifically for dinners, so that's what I did, or tried to do. They were kind enough to put me in a seat for tomorrow instead. After that, I kept looking for another place in the meantime, a little bit more and further down the road, and I found this soba shop called Yagura, which is a soba shop, and sat there, enjoyed my simple dinner, and that's it. I went ahead to go back, and it is all in all a good day. So good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. This is the 1st of December and day 13. Definitely getting closer to end of my trip, but still, we are in the middle of my Kyoto adventure. So first stop, Shisendo Temple, to explore around this lovely Buddhist temple, and I managed to get a goshuin from here. Next, I walked around the area and stumbled upon Ichioji Park and was astounded by the beautiful backdrop of Ichioji Hayama at the park nearby. After some photos taken, I've trained back to Demachi Yanagi Station to walk around Shimogama Shrine. This is a Shinto shrine, but I didn't get to have a Goshuin booth. Maybe I wasn't actively looking for it. But after Shimogamo, I was still walking around the area and had a quick Google search for lunch, and I found this falafel garden cafe. The food was so delicious that I couldn't forget it. It's just one of those places that I managed to save and promise to come back to if I had a chance. After that, I went to Kiyozomi-dera by chance. My feet has kind of led me there. It wasn't on purpose to visit the shrine, much less to get a goshuin, but I ended up downhill and found this ceramic shop right off of an upslope street that my in-laws recommended for me to check out, and I did end up with a couple of purchases that I gifted to my husband when I get back, so I did that. Again, I'm always in that limbo where it wasn't quite dinner time yet, so I did a little bit more walking and helped myself to some ice cream just because I passed by one. And I found myself in Keninji Temple, took some photographs. And then it was time for my dinner course, which I was very looking forward to. And here we are at Wabiya Korekido for a yakitori course. And that's all for today. A very lovely end to my Kyoto leg, and I'll be sleeping very warmly and cozily tonight. The next day, I enjoyed the last few moments in my B&B in Kyoto. Sat down at their lovely lounge and ordered coffee before I finally checked my luggage to be sent all the way to Osaka. And again, I'm on my backpack and off to Koyasan. This girl at 7-Eleven was super kind to assist me in filling up the forms in Japanese as I present her the address of my Osaka B&B. And yep, let's set off to Koyasan. I took the JR Special Rapid Service for Himeji, and then I changed to JR Yamatoji Rapid Service for Kamo, I believe. And then from there, the JR Pass would not cover the subsequent mode of transportation, which is the Nankai-Koya Line Express for Gokurakubashi, where I take the Gokurakubashi cable car to Koyasan. And from there, I would take the bus to get to my B&B, which was Koyasan Guest House Koku. I was rushing to catch the last bus before 7 p.m. because I think it has all the right stops. I think after that, it will not go all the way back to the terminal or something like that. So I just knew I had to make it before 7 p.m. I settled in this lovely small room and shared facilities, and it was a long journey coming here, so dinner time was just a few minutes away, so I went out for a quick walk around the vicinity and found this amazing tonkatsu at Tonkatsu Tei, ran by a sweet elderly couple. Before going back to my room for a nightcap, I decided to do a quick detour at the entrance of Okonoin. That's it, just a day for a quick transfer to another town. Happy to be where it's out of bullet train coverage, no elevators, no shiny shop windows. Good night. Good morning. So I successfully withdrew from post office finally, and it's a beautiful day in Koyasan. So I woke up really early to explore Okonoin, although I missed the early morning service. A Buddhist service is held every morning at Shukubo temples. During the ceremony, the chief priest and the monks of the temple chant Buddhist sutras in the main temple hall, and depending on the temple, the ceremony may start at around 6 a.m. And of course, overnight guests at these temples may also participate or watch. Okonoin Cemetery, which is the largest in Japan with over 200,000 tombstones, it runs about 2 kilometers long. And every day at 7 a.m. the religious service is held in the main hall. After this, I had another much needed coffee before my hike, so I had one at Yokaten. And some context to my video earlier, I think I was just very happy to be able to withdraw some cash from the post office. I vividly remember having trouble doing it after 2 attempts, and I needed cash immediately because my next accommodation, which is a very special one, only accepts cash, and this is after previous correspondences with the administrator in charge of checking me in via email. So I was just happy to acquire some more cash because I didn't expect to be handling a lot of bills with me, especially out here where there is no ATM or much of a 7-Eleven, well, not as ubiquitous anyway. Although I know Japan is safe in general, I didn't want to carry that much cash with me. I don't trust myself in handling or keeping and not losing cash when I have quite a bit with me. At this point, I have checked out of my previous accommodation, and again, I am in between hotel checked out, check-in time, so I will go for another hike. I took the Forest Women's Pilgrimage course, but I did a shorter one, which is only 2 kilometers. but it has a bit of elevation, and I ended up in Yonindo Hall. So I continued the walk with more ceramic hunt. Was hungry after that short hike, so I checked out this vegan cafe called Bon On Shaya Cafe. I did take a photo of my meal, but I remember to take a clip of this chocolate cake because it was simply unforgettable. I had time before checking into my second accommodation, so I went to Kongobuji Temple. It was originally constructed in 1593 by Toyotomi Hideyoshi to commemorate the death of his mother. Later, it was merged with a neighboring temple and reorganized into a head temple of Shingon Buddhism, the sect introduced to Japan by Kobo Daishi in 805 and headquartered in Koyasan. The highlight of this visit is Ban-ryute Rock Garden, the largest rock garden in Japan. Built in 1984, its large rocks from Shikoku, the birthplace of Kobo Daishi, represent a pair of dragons emerging from a sea of clouds. I did have a goshuin from Kongobuji Temple, so I was very happy. After that, I checked in at Muryokoin Temple for my last night in Koyasan. I would brand this as a surreal to have experienced this type of lodging. It has your signature Japanese hospitality with flair of Buddhist touches all around. I had Shojin Ryori dinner, quite a spread, and coming to enjoy this inside your room. Of course, I had to be silly with a yukata again. And I think that's it for today. Good night. See you again tomorrow. Good morning. I woke up and felt like using the onsen, but I chose not to. I just enjoyed my Shojin Rory breakfast, and I was meaning to have dessert. So just a sweet ending to my Koyasan leg. You know where I'm headed to. I had to make sure I have another vegan chocolate cake from Bon Oyen Shaya before heading to Osaka. On the way back, I took the bus to the terminal and rode the Nankai Koyasan cable car and hopped on the Limited Express Koya, then changed to Shinimamiya for Osaka. It was a rainy day when I checked in on my Airbnb at around 3 p.m. I had dinner in Osaka Central and I just took photographs of the beautiful rain and then passed back to my B&B, and that would have ended my beautiful day in Osaka. Good morning. Today is my final full day in Osaka before my flight tonight at around midnight. I began exploring Osaka Castle, taking time to walk through these historic grounds. After that, typically I went shopping across the city, visiting different stores, trying takoyaki, picking up a bag that I've dreamt of for years, and the lady almost never gave it to me because of the stain on the bag, but I insisted, and so she tried her best to clean it up. And yep, after that I just went on to pick up a few last minute items, and that's it. So yeah, this ends my 17-day solo Japan trip. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I savored reliving it. Please stay tuned for more and subscribe if you like my videos. I'd like to get to know what kind of travel, walking, or cycling videos you really enjoy watching, your points of interest, and I'm happy to deliver however and whenever I can. Again, thank you and see you on the next one.